Welcome to the Soul Podcasting Podcast. I have with me an awesome guest today. His name is Carl Richards, and he is a 3-time best-selling author, a TEDx speaker, and an MC, which I think is really cool. We'll have to hear about that. He's a podcast host and the founder and CEO of Carl Speaks and Podcast Solutions Made Simple. He helps coaches, consultants, and other subject matter experts become the go-to authority by launching world-class podcasts. So that is all super awesome. We're going to hear all about it. Thank you for being here, Carl.
Demetria, it's an honor to be here. Thank you so much. And yeah, you're right. Being a TEDx speaker is very different from being a TEDx MC, but both were amazing opportunities.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
I would love to hear about that. But first, I just want to know what makes Carl happy? What makes you happy in life?
Hey, waking up every morning.
Wow.
Breathing air. That's knowing I'm in a part of the world where you know what, I'm free. There's a lot of freedom where I am, and I really appreciate that. But certainly what makes me happy, what really puts a smile on my face is seeing people succeed in what it is that they're doing and how they're impacting people in the world around them. That really makes me happy and definitely puts a smile on my face for sure.
I love that. And it also definitely helps to have a good quality life. And I see here in your bio that you love camping, that you love boating, you live in Canada. It just sounds like a peaceful and a fun life to have. So.
It definitely is. It's a great place. Come and visit anytime.
Yeah.
You're happy to come. I'm happy to have you here.
Yes, I would love to. Okay. So we're going to be talking about podcasting today, but also some things that you do as an entrepreneur and helping small businesses as well. A lot of solopreneurs struggle with visibility. We talk a lot about podcasting here on the show, but again, you know, solopreneurs, we're handling a lot of different things in our business, podcasts being one of them. So sometimes we struggle with being visible, and maybe we're experts, but don't always feel that we are seen or even heard. So how can podcasting shift that dynamic and help us to step into that go-to authority status?
How much time do we have? I can't give you every single secret in 25 to 30 minutes, but you're absolutely right. I mean, as entrepreneurs, even small business owners, and that term small business owner is sort of a misnomer. Small businesses can range even up to $20 million, believe it or not. But there's still small business owners, even smaller than that struggle, as you say, with that visibility piece, because we're focused on doing so many things. We need to get clients. We're spinning plates. Maybe we don't have a team yet, or we just have a small team. So we're doing a lot of the sales and marketing, and that keeps us really busy. But certainly, you know, a podcast is a great way to elevate your brand and your business and your credibility for a couple of reasons. Number one, the typical way that we would have done it, say 30 years ago, is to try as hard as we can to get on conventional media platforms, radio, television, featured in print. Some of that is still relevant today, but certainly, you know, if you can have your own podcast or even be featured on podcasts, which, by the way, is what I'm doing today. Demetria, thank you very much for this platform. I greatly appreciate it. Then that's going to put you above your competition that maybe even hasn't figured out what this whole podcasting thing is. So that's number one. It's going to elevate your brand, your business, and your credibility. It's going to give you an opportunity to have your voice or your messaging be put out there front and center. And when you strategically do it, we talk a lot about strategy at Podcast Solutions Made Simple. When you do it strategically and not just throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks, and you really understand how to make that connection with your audience, that's where the magic happens. And it's unfortunately a spot that some entrepreneurs or business owners miss because they just have this, well, done is better than none. Not really. I would rather my surgeon, if they're doing open heart surgery on me, be done completely, or, you know, schedule the surgery another day if they're only going to do half of it. You know what I mean? As opposed to just doing it for the sake of saying, well, I've done it. No, I think it needs to be strategic, purposeful, and obviously with not only your own goals in mind, but you always be thinking of your audience. What does your audience want? So if you're listening to this, what is it that I can share with you today? Or what is it that Dimitri and I can share with you today that's going to help you excel and make you a better business owner, entrepreneur, or even person in your own community?
Absolutely. I love that. And just I'm thinking all of this kind of brings together podcasting, marketing, and like you said, a small business can range from, you know, from the smallest number to like the higher numbers of what it takes to have to be considered a small business. And so that's a wide range. But in all of this, we are looking at how to market, how to effectively share what we do. And so you talk a lot about the new era of marketing. So I want to hear a bit about what that means, your perspective on how podcasting fits into that evolution, especially for those of us who don't want to chase trends or burn out on social media. So how does that work?
We're living it right now. New era marketing. As of the recording of this, which is October 24th, 2025, we are in the new era of marketing right now. We've actually probably been in it for quite a while, but what we used to do is shifting. So I'll give you a really good example of that. And some of this is still true today, but if you think back, I can think back 30 years ago. I don't know if you can, but I can certainly think back 30 years ago. And if you, for example, had written a book, you would then take that book on a speaking tour and you would go to conferences and events and you would sell copies of your book. You would book people into group programs. Some of them were, well, all of them back 30 years ago would have been in person. You would do that kind of marketing and promotion. You were probably, still doing a lot of conventional advertising on radio and television and print, as I've already indicated. That is shifting. We now spend so much time in the digital space on these devices, but also, even on our laptops or tablets, scrolling for information. And here's the thing, there's no shortage of information out there. Here's the rub though. The rub is really figuring out what's the right information. You can go to Dr. Google to find out what's wrong with you, for example. Not necessarily the best way to get medical advice. So you want to make sure if you are leveraging platforms, even social media now, that you're making sure that your sources are very clear and concise, and before you buy something or tap into a service, number one, that you need it, and number two, that it's going to help excel you or move you forward in your business. So what does that mean to you as the business owner? Well, if you're doing the same old that you did before, radio, television, newspapers, even just trying to throw stuff out on social media, and guess what? It's changed. The algorithms are changing all the time on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Instagram seems to have become this great place for ad placement. You don't see everything that your friends and colleagues are doing anymore. So it'll depend on what your goal is, what you really want to do. But this new era of marketing is putting yourself and being seen and heard through all of that noise and all of that clutter. And how do you do that? Well, number one, I'm going to say this, is with a podcast, of course, but not just any podcast, one that people want to listen to every week, one that people will come back to, one that people can use as a resource, one that people can feel that after a period of time, if not right from the beginning, they're part of a community. That's what I mean by the new era of marketing. Yeah. People want to know that they belong to a community. And if you have those pieces and the podcast and you're being of service to them, that's going to make a huge difference, not only to them, but to you as well.
Oh, that's perfect, Carl. I just love that you really brought out the idea of community, belonging. And that is, I think, kind of the center of the wheel, and everything else kind of spokes from that, because without that community and that core of feeling that belongingness, people just kind of drift to the next thing, but they want to feel connected. And I think that's one of the best things about podcasting, is that we can create that community, and it happens through that, that just, personableness in our podcast. And there's so many things we can do with our shows to make that happen, but community is is huge. So yeah, I love that you're talking about the new era of marketing. It's not what it used to be. Things have changed. It's speeding up. Algorithms are changing, and it's definitely hard to keep up with all this stuff.
And even now, dare we mention AI?
Oh,
Because
right.
that's another piece of the equation, right?
Another piece.
So, Demetria, community, you're right, is huge. And I don't mean just now it all has to be online. I mean, some of it does mean still meeting in person. But community, if this was, again, 40, 50 years ago, community would be being a part of a community group or being a part of your local church community, whatever it is. Well, that is a lot of it is shifting to being a part of a community where you feel like you belong, especially if you're a business owner. You want to make sure you're in the right community. And if you're tapped into somebody's podcast already and they resonate with you, why wouldn't you want to be a part of that community and learn and grow and build? And it is a huge component. I'm so glad that I'm so glad we're speaking the same language when it comes to community and being a part.
Being a part. I know I listened to a couple of podcasts where just hearing the content, it's so much more than the content. It's the person behind the mic, and it's their sort of plea or invitation to join her and join their community that makes me want to stop what I'm doing and find that link and go join because of what I've heard on the podcast.
That's by design, by the way.
Yes.
That's what I say. That's intentional. That's not, going back to what I mentioned earlier, that's not about just saying, hey, I have a podcast episode record, mic on, talkie, and oh my goodness, I don't know what I just said, but I hope you like it. No, that's intentional. And that's what I mean about making sure that you're intentional with everything you're doing related to podcasting and your marketing, we'll say marketing plan, because if you're building community, it needs to be with intention because your community members want to know that you have their best interest in mind. And it's not just about you, but it's by design that those shows that you're listening to, they do that.
Exactly.
And it's intentional. It really is.
It really is. It's part of the packaging and how we relate to those that we haven't yet met, but will because they're going to become part of our journey. And so, yes, it's very much intentional. And I know there are people out there right now who are listening and thinking, I want to do this, but I don't know how to get started. And so some people are thinking like, okay, how do I do this? What are some of the biggest mindset myths or fears that you have seen with particularly among solopreneurs that stop them from launching a show or just claiming their space behind the mic?
Dimitri, I'm glad you asked that question. I have 5 of them actually that I'll run through fairly quickly that tends to hold a lot of people back from stepping into the podcasting space. Number 1 is the money myth. It's too expensive, or I don't know how much this is going to cost, or am I going to get my ROI back, whether it be time, whether it be the money that you're putting out. Here's the thing. I always look at it and say, what is the risk of not hosting or being on podcasts? In other words, if your clients are already engaging in podcasts or they're listening to podcasts just like yours, and a client has a certain dollar value attached to it, what is the risk or what is the lack of ROI in not doing that? So I always like to say that to people because it's crucial to understand that if I don't do a podcast, okay, fine. But how many clients or how much potential income am I leaving on the table by not engaging my audience? That's number 1. Number 2 is the content myth. What am I ever going to talk about? I have so much information. Where do I begin? Where do I start? Well, it's not about content creation. It's about content curation because we have so much content. I've been in business for well over 10 years, firstly as a speaker trainer, now as a podcast strategist. Prior to that, I have 25 years in radio broadcasting. I have a lot of things to say. How can I curate that information so I don't fire hose my listener every episode with too much information? Right. So how do I curate that content so it's digestible in bite-sized pieces every episode that leaves the audience wanting more? So the content myth. Just break it down, simple bite-sized pieces. The third myth is the competition myth. There's too many podcasts out there now. Who's ever going to listen to me? Well, if you compare that, for example, there's about 4 to 5 million podcasts. The number keeps going up and down depending on what month and what hour it is. So right now there's about 4.5 million podcasts worldwide. How many websites are worldwide.
A
How many
ton.
websites are out there? But that doesn't stop us as business owners from
Right.
having a website that is tied to SEO, and now it's am I searchable? Can I be found using AI tools? So we think nothing about that, but we go, oh, podcast, too many. No, it's not about. So it's not about how many. It's about, again, the impact that you're going to have. That's going to have you be seen. And as far as the competition myth and who's going to listen to you, if you look at how many podcasts are started by famous people, it's a very small number. It's probably less than half of a percent. Most of them are solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, small business owners like
Right.
Demetria, you. And if you're listening to this, like you, who are going, oh my goodness, I need to be heard now. So think of it as, oh yeah, I have something to say and it needs to be put out there. The fourth myth is the tech myth.
That's a
Too
big
confusing, too technical. How am I ever going to figure out how to do this? Well, it's the same reason why, I don't know about you, Demetria, but I'm assuming you don't do your own dental work on yourself. You probably go to a
right.
professional. You don't try and do the drilling or pull a tooth or do a fill. Same reason why I don't fix my own car. That and the fact that it's a Tesla doesn't need much fixing. It's pretty much fixes itself almost. But it's the same reason why when you need anything done, you go to the expert.
Mm-hmm.
You don't try and figure it all out on your own. So it's not about how am I going to figure out how to do this. It's who do I need to get in contact with that has some knowledge or information to share? Shameless promotion. I can help you in that area so that you don't have to try and figure it out yourself. Because when you try and figure it out yourself, guess what? Just like figuring out through Dr. Google what's wrong with you, you might come up with the wrong diagnosis. And I'll tell you, it is a costly mistake to launch a podcast the wrong way and try and fix it later than to launch it the right way. Because at the end of the day, it's a reflection of your brand, your business, and your credibility. And you want to make that upfront, clear. Here's who I am. The fifth myth, and I'll wrap this up very quickly, is the time myth. I don't have time. Well, it's the reason why people don't go to the gym. It's the reason why people don't eat right. We're grabbing fast food or quickly prepared food because we don't have time. Well, a lot of people don't understand that time is semantic, right? I always ask this question, how long is a podcast episode?
Right.
And I get multiple different answers. I go, well, it should be 2 hours. It should be, Joe Rogan's show is that long. So should mine be. I get 30 minutes. I get an hour. I get 50 minutes. I get 45. But, there are podcasts out there, Demetria, that are 2 minutes long.
Right.
And there are podcasts out there that are 2 hours long. The question is, how long can your audience engage with you? It's number one. Number two, if you are doing this yourself, you're not quite ready to have somebody help you on the back end. How much time do you really have? Like, can you find that hour in the week to record your show and package it together? And if the answer is yes, absolutely, because we know there are a lot of time wasters out there. And I don't mean people. I mean people sometimes, but there are also, like, social media can be a huge time waster. On my phone all the time, checking email all the time. How much time are you wasting, and how much time can you really invest in elevating that brand, business, and credibility so that you are being seen as the expert? And that is time well spent.
Time well spent. I love all of these answers because, like, going back to competition, sometimes that is one of the biggest things that I hear is I'm not ready to start because I'm not sure if my voice will even be heard among the sea of other voices talking about the same thing that I wanted to share. Or the tech seems to be one of the other drawbacks is, what do I need? And that's the thing I'm always telling them, like, you don't need to worry so much about tech. Tech is abundant. You can always find an easy startup plan. There's always packages on Amazon that you can purchase and just get started until you work your way into something that may be a little bit better for your setup. But there's all kinds of reasons why we can stop ourselves from moving forward. But I love everything you've just said. I love the time myth, the content myth, all of that. So these are things that we should consider and remember that when we're getting started, it's really about our passion and what we want to share with our audience, finding that audience that we connect with, and then making those moves to share content that they want to hear. And like you said, it could be anywhere from 2 minutes to 2 hours, but it depends on what our audience needs and what we're capable of doing as well.
And the sweet spot, by the way, just for the record, is 30 minutes, 25 to 30 minutes, which is the average length of, I think, your show is 25 to 30 minutes. So very, very similar. So if you're thinking in those terms, all of a sudden, it's not that daunting. And if it's all about what your intellectual property is or what you're going to be talking about, even if you have a guest on your show, all of a sudden, it's not as time consuming as we think it is.
Yes. Yeah. Well, let's kind of circle back to the community. I want to sort of just kind of land this on this idea of community, because for entrepreneurs like myself, like many others listening today that are building brands solo or with a small team, what do you think is the smartest way to design a podcast that builds community and creates that connection, genuine connection with our audience? How do we go about doing that what's the best way?
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in everything starts with strategy. You know, Simon Sinek says, you know, what's your why? Or start with why. So why do you want this podcast? What's the purpose of it? What's the goal? And what's the long-term plan? If we're talking about building community, this isn't okay, in 6 months, I'm going to have this massive community. It doesn't happen that way unless you already have a fairly large following, right? It does take some time to build it, but start with the question of, why am I doing this show? Then start to break down, what's the show about? From there, you can figure out, is this going to be a solo show? Am I going to be co-hosting with somebody else? Am I doing a roundtable discussion every week? There's a lot of shifting now from just solo shows. Solo's great, by the way. If you're quite comfortable doing a show by yourself, that's fine too. But there's a lot of collaborating with other people in your industry or in adjacent industries. I know folks who are co-hosting real estate podcasts where there's an investor and a legal person and a lender and a property manager all combining their resources. So think about that, and then figure out, okay, well, when do I want to start? That's the big thing. Yeah. Hitting the go button is the big one. I want to start, let's say you want to launch in January. A lot of people like to start fresh in January. That means you need to start planning and preparing in October. And I know what you're thinking. That far back, really? To start a podcast? Well, for a couple of reasons. Number one, you don't just launch with one episode. You launch with 8 or 10 episodes. So you have some in the bank, or in the can, so to speak. So you're not stressed and trying to figure out what's the next episode going to be. Plus, it also shows that you're not a flash in the pan, that you do have content there. So you're launching with all 10 episodes. That allows you to then promote and market to your community, whether that be your social media community, your email list, your networking groups. You can start to connect with those people and let them know that you have a podcast. Part of that setup strategy is also understanding the organic marketing approach, by the way. Not a lot of time to go into a lot of detail here, but think about the things that organically you already do. If you're already speaking on stages, well, that should be part of your bio, that you are, Demetria mentioned it off the top, I'm the host of podcasts and I'm on this one. So it's already mentioned there. It should be in your speaker bio, should be on your website, all those things that should be happening so that the organic reach happens without any or minimal effort. And then making sure that you are connecting with that audience as often as you can and letting them know that, by the way, brand new episode, here it is, and start to invite them in. You also invite them in, going back to the content myth, or the reason why people are scared to do that. You invite them in through your content. You position it in such a way that you say, hey, if you like what you've heard today, send me your comments, or that resource I shared with you, it's in the show notes. Whatever it is, you need to be engaging the audience so they're coming back for more. And by the way, it's never a bad idea to say, and by the way, if you like what you've heard today, share it with your friends and invite them to the next episode. So that's sort of the foundation of building, is really starting with the why, start to map it out, move into production, and then start to promote the show. And you cannot with a brand new show promote it too much. You can't promote it too much. There's no such thing. You need to be out there saying time and time and time again, I am a podcast host. This is my show. Check it out.
Yes. Don't be afraid to share your show, toot your own horn. We got to do that.
Exactly.
You got to do it. So it's an
Yeah.
entire ecosystem that you just mentioned, and there's a lot that goes into it, and that's what you help people do. But first of all, before we end, I want to ask you about your experience as you've been on stage, you've been on radio, podcasts for over 2 decades, and so I would love to know one lesson that you could share with us that you've learned about communicating or storytelling that you think every solo podcaster should take to heart?
Actually, I'm going to be generous and give you two. The first one is something I learned when I was overcoming stuttering. Believe it or not, I used to stutter when I was younger. And it's something that I've taken with me ever since. And it's the only person who's in control of your speaking or in control of your speech is you.
Yeah.
The only person who's in control of your speech or your speaking is you. And that's powerful. So if you do have imposter syndrome, or if you, again, like me, thinking back several years, used to stutter or you're anxious on camera, understand that you control it. So deep breaths. We can't give a ton of examples of that today, but really get in the mind space of I'm the person in control. Okay. And if you need some professional help with that, or you need some assistance with that, there are enough coaches out there that can certainly help you do that. The second nugget that I learned in when I was a fairly new broadcaster was the audience doesn't know what you don't tell them. Sure. The audience doesn't know what you don't tell them, which means you don't have to tell them every single thing, every single episode. Give them what they need to know. Give them the pieces they need to know. Make sure they have a clear trail if they need more information, aka going to your show notes, which, by the way, should all link to your website or wherever that's the best way to connect with you. So if you put those two things together, the only person who is in control of your speaking is you, and the audience doesn't know what you don't tell them. It gives you so much power as a speaker, as a podcaster, as a business owner to really connect deeply and intently with your audience every single time you're in front of them.
Wow. Wow. I love that. Wow, that's awesome. Thank you, Carl. This has been so helpful, so encouraging. And you've given us a lot of food for thought, things to really meditate on when we start either beginning to launch our shows or even as we are growing our shows, things that we can always go back to and remember and keep in mind. So this has been awesome. You have a lot to offer our audience. So I would love for you to share what you do, what you offer, and how you can help our listeners with their podcasts.
Yeah, absolutely. We work a lot with coaches, consultants, entrepreneurs, subject matter experts who don't have the time or the technical skills to either be on podcasts or launch their own podcasts. We do all that for you on the back end. We help you either launch or we do all the bookings and take care of all that for you. So you get to focus on your business, which should be the most important thing. While we're focusing on the back end, helping you be seen as the go-to expert, putting yourself in that category of one, blasting through all that noise and all of that clutter. We do it with strategy. We do it with audio branding, which is a very specific thing. I won't go into the details of that today, but we do it with strategy. And then, of course, we make sure that the production is 100% high quality so that at the end of the day, you are confident that your voice is being heard, you're being seen as the expert, and you're reeling in the benefits of that. Podcastsolutionsmadesimple.com. I'll say that again. Podcastsolutionsmadesimple.com is the best place to find us. And I always like to have conversations with people who are either curious about podcasting or are ready to get started. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah, I love that, Carl. Thank you so much for being here today. Remember, podcastsolutionsmadesimple.com. That will be in the show notes. I love that there are many of us out here doing the same things, but in different ways. And so I love that you're offering this to our listeners as well. And so we'll definitely link to that in the show notes. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.